Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to European Truck Simulator 2, and welcome back to Kozloduy, Bulgaria. The possibility that I said that correctly is 0, by the way. We are in our DAF. I threw a Christmas livery on here, and we're going to make a run to Sofia with some packages. Some holiday packages, and that's them right over there. So let's get some lights turned on. Brake is off. Put her in gear. Let's go get hooked up. Now, I did turn off fatigue simulation because I learned it in ATS when we're doing these deliveries. They look so much better at night, but trying to time it so that one was going the right direction, you know what I'm talking about. It's them truck sim problems, but we're going to make this happen. So we got this going here. We have plenty of fuel. We don't need to worry about sleep. Let's get hooked up. And I have some unexpected news. Some unexpected good news. Right in there, right about like so. Beautiful. Get that hooked up. Oh, there you go. Lift axle is down. There we are. Out, and then out. Lights are on. Here we go. So yeah, I went into the ETS DLC store to get this Christmas livery pack, which I already owned, by the way. I don't know why. I don't know why I bought it, but I did at some point. I think it may have been to get that little Santa Claus that's on our dash. But I've never rocked these skins before, so I couldn't remember if I even owned them. Turns out I did, but while I was in there, what do I see at the top of the list for DLC? What do I see but Iberia? So I guess we're going to Spain and Portugal next. And there's no release date yet. I added it to my wish list, and I assume that will coincide with the release of 1.37. I'd say, I don't know, a couple of months, a few months. So super happy about that. And then, of course, I had to hop over to ATS to see what the corresponding DLC would be over there, and we're going to Idaho. So, not Russia and not Texas. And I don't know, I mean, both those places are very big, but in fairness, so is California, you know? So is Scandinavia. And SCS found a way to make those areas work. So, I don't know, I'm not sure what their rationale is or why they're choosing to move in those directions. But happy as can be. I'm really happy about Spain and Portugal, and I'll tell you why. I got that OCD. I joke about it. I actually do. I'm a little bit OCD, and it was really kind of messing with my OCD that we were going east while we still had a little area to the west. You know what I'm saying? That was not painted yet. We got to fill this in before we can move on. So looks like we will take care of Spain, and that will be all of Western Europe, with the exception of Ireland. Am I mistaken about that? I want to say Ireland is not in base game. Well, you know what? It's easy enough for us to check. Moment. Just go right here. So we go here. Wow, this map is getting big. Yeah, we still need to add Ireland. Okay. I think because I saw it so many times in Pro Mods, I lost track of whether or not it was there or not. But you know what? Is that a standalone DLC, or can that just be because the UK is part of base map? Could they expand it the same way they do when they're expanding cities in the US in ATS? They're expanding, they add roads, you know what I mean? They do things to base game and DLC that we already own. They added Corsica and Sardinia. So could they add Ireland to base map? I don't know. I mean, it could be a DLC. I'd pay for it. But I think you could also just sort of fill out the British Isles and not necessarily have to have a DLC. But that's up to SCS and the customers. So yeah, very, very happy about that. And, you know, I'm not a fanboy for SCS. But I'm really, really pleased with them as a company. And, I mean, even stuff like maintaining the archive library of previous patches. Such a cool thing to do, because when I got back into gaming a couple years ago, I was gaming on, I just bought a couple games and started playing them on my HP Pavilion laptop with it's got a AMD Radeon card in it, but it's not really a gaming card. It's more like, you know, you gotta have a graphics card in a laptop so you can like watch movies and YouTube and stuff. It's that kind of a graphics card. And I was able to play both the truck sims. In fairness, I didn't really know what I was doing as far as graphics settings and a lot of other things, so I didn't know from FPS, I didn't know from, you know what I'm saying? I installed the games, I figured it out. And that worked for me. It really did. And I know, you know, I see on Reddit, I see various threads, I see on some of the SCS forums, you know, there are some people that Truck Sim is the only video game they own and play. And I'm sure the same could be said of a lot of other video games, you know, that there are plenty of people that only play one game. I think the difference for Truck Sim is there are people, and again, I get this impression from threads and forums, there are people who are into Truck Sim that are not what we would think of as gamers, in the same way that there are people that are into Farm Sim, and they're not your typical gamer. I think they're more people that really like farming or people that really like trucking. And so they may not have a high dollar gaming rig. That's not a priority for them. It's the game itself. It's the sim itself that is a priority for them. And the fact that SCS, I don't know if they do this deliberately, consciously. So, you know, as always, I'm just kind of brainstorming, just kind of thinking out loud. I'm not saying this is how it is. But if they are aware that their fan base may be playing on older or less powerful equipment and they keep those previous patches available to them, I think that is absolutely awesome. Because, you know what I'm saying? Money's money. And everybody has a different way that they choose to live their life. Everybody has a different way that they have to live their life. So the fact that they have not gone to, you know what I mean? I don't know if this game is ever planning on moving forward to some like AAA GPU roasting. GPA, I don't even know what that means. Well, I mean grade point average, but that's got nothing to do with gaming. Let's start again. I don't know if Truck Sim is ever going to be a AAA GPU roasting, you know, ray tracing, the whole deal. I don't know if it's ever going to move in that direction. It would be gorgeous if it did, I'm sure. But is that really a priority for us as sim truckers? It'd be nice, you know, but I don't know that we need it. And when that happens, a lot of people that play ATS and ETS at the current moment might be, you know, kind of not included. And that's not cool. The people that took you where you are, you can't forget them, you know? You can't forget where you came from. So I don't know if SCS is doing that deliberately, but it is working out that way, and I think that is super, super cool. So looking forward to that. And, you know, also that got me thinking about something else. I realized that all the content and all the games that I got in 2019 are either DLC or, carefully, or franchise entries, right? I got Farm Sim. Well, I got that in late 2018, but it's called Farm Sim 19. That's a franchise entry. I got F1 2019. That's a franchise entry. I got Ride 3. I got Monster Energy Supercross 2. I got MXGP 5. I got MotoGP 19. I got Dirt Rally 2.0. You're starting to see a theme? You seeing where this is headed? Yeah, it's that was a very kind of interesting thing to notice. I got Assetto Corsa Competizione, which I have to say, even though it shares the name, it's not a franchise entry. It's a completely new take on Assetto Corsa. It's not a sequel. But even that is, I mean, there are genres of gaming. There are classes, categories, however you want to describe it, of games. And game developers, I feel like, you know, we want innovation, but we also expect them to sort of, you know what I mean? Stick with, don't get too innovative. Don't do anything. I mean, Death Stranding, how do you even categorize that? What the hell is Death Stranding? It's gorgeous. I don't understand it. I'm not going to buy it or play it. I don't even know what the hell's going on in that game. It absolutely defies any type of categorization. For the most part, though, most games don't. They fit into a formula, and we sort of evaluate them and judge them. How well do you execute that formula? How well do you represent that category? And that is, I think it speaks to how difficult it is to create something completely new. I played Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid, and I noticed, myself, a lot of other people noticed, because you got your dungeon master. Don't make fun. Don't laugh. Yeah, I used to play D&D. You got your DM, right? And your DM's job is to kind of run this here, whatever. And what I noticed after a while, and this is not a bad thing, but it's like every D&D session turns into a variation of one of the original Star Wars movie plots, right? New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. It just works out that way. And, I mean, you can talk about, that's this guy. This guy. Right. He was going like 60. Now suddenly 90. So I don't know if you know about the monomyth, the concept of monomyth, but it goes back to Homer, the Odyssey, the Iliad. It's essentially it's a person who doesn't know they're extraordinary being called upon to achieve an extraordinary task. There are setbacks, and then ultimately there is a setback so monumental that it does not seem likely or possible that our hero will come back from this setback. They discover something within them, and they go forward from there, and they are triumphant. That's the monomyth, and it goes back to, like I said, Homer, and it's part of our, I believe, our species. It's part of our cultural DNA, cross-cultural. All people, all cultures, all around the world, I feel, have that same seed in their DNA that causes us to, root for the underdog and to believe, and all that good stuff. So every D&D session ends up like taking on that same tone. It sort of, it follows that arc. How well do we execute it? How well are we going to play within that framework? And I feel like that is where gaming has arrived. It's not a bad thing, but I feel like that's where gaming has arrived. And we are, I have to say, pretty harsh judges of how well a game or a sim is executed. And that sort of ties in, I guess. I've been trying not to talk about my system. Got a new system. Been trying not to talk about it. But it has allowed me to go back and revisit some games that were challenging for me. And I know I'm seen some semi-serious research, I guess, about whether or not games are easier to play or whether or not you can play better with a higher FPS. And there is some, like I said, it's not pseudoscience. I mean, it's genuine research, but it's a little bit flawed, because anybody who has a system that can play a AAA title on ultra settings and hold 120 FPS, that's a person who is most likely pretty serious about gaming, and lo and behold, they're better at games. Well, of course they are. Of course they are. They play them all the time. They're serious because they're willing to commit that kind of money to their system. So yeah, of course they're better. You see where I'm headed with that. So what I did was I fired up Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Sorry, I'm concentrating here. This road is so wide, I'm sort of adrift. I fired up Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which when I had it installed on my gaming laptop, I could hold between 25 and say 40 FPS, depending on the scenery and how many things were on fire. And and it was a little choppy. It was not a smooth 25 to 40. My system was struggling. And it's, you get PS4 locked in at 30 FPS. Well, the reason they're doing that is so the game is stable, so you don't have micro freezes, so you don't have stutter. Well, I want just the opposite. I had low FPS and micro freezes and stutter. And in a game where you're shooting, that can really cause some problems. So I fired it back up. It is still a broken, buggy mess. It is also still objectively a gorgeous game. It's a really, really pretty game to look at. I was able to finish it, and then I went and tried the raid, and the raid is a disaster. Oh my goodness. So I did a little reading, like I do. I love to research. I love to like find out about things. And I found an interview with the CEO of Ubisoft, and he says basically, yeah, we screwed up, so we're going to redo the game. And I thought, oh man, it's okay. Oh my goodness, this is as good a way as any to end the year. So it's like he's a George Lucas fan. You know, we made this thing, we made this creative product, and we didn't like the way it turned out, so we're just going to remake it and keep the same name. All right, as you do. Now the difference is when Lucas does it, and you got to buy another Blu-ray box set. But I think the way Ubisoft is doing it, it'll just fix the game sort of internally, and we'll all be none the wiser. But I don't know how they're going to make that game into anything other than what it is. It's like the core mechanics of the game are Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know how they're going to try to make it into well, I mean, there weren't a lot of tactical shooters like Ghost Recon. It was pretty intense. I guess Rainbow Six sort of carries the torch now. But I don't know how they could, you know, because there's so much story and there's just so many things going on in that game. I don't know how they could make it into anything other than what it is, which is it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey with M4s and face paint. That's what it is. So I don't know what they're going to do, but that is, I think that's our rule as gamers. We know the formula. Developers know the formula. Now you go ahead and execute the formula, and then we'll evaluate how well you did. We'll grade you. But, and you know what? And just like movies, what was it? I can't remember the video, and I can't remember the actual CEO or creative director who made the statement, so I don't want to attribute it to anybody. But essentially what they said was, yeah, we know sometimes our games suck, but if you keep buying them, we're going to keep making them that way. And I think, yeah, you've learned from Hollywood. You've definitely learned from Hollywood, because Hollywood's feelings are, you know what? If you buy a ticket, that is you saying, I like this kind of movie, because you can't really get your money back afterwards, you know? I feel like if it was the other way, like if you paid when you were leaving the theater, I don't think there'd be nearly as many bad movies. Because a lot of people would say, I'll give you nothing. That's what this movie was worth. Right. Lights is off. Engine is off. Where are we at on time? 20 minutes. That's not bad. Hit this. Right, like so. How do we do? On time, we got one ticket. It doesn't show on here, but I know. It weighs on me. We got one ticket. There you have it. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of European Truck Simulator 2. If I don't talk to you between now and the holidays, have a fantastic holiday. If you already celebrated your holidays, I hope they were awesome. Looking forward to the new year with you. Take care. See you soon.